Some stories are true crime, some are paranormal. But here, you won't just hear them, you'll live them. Put on your headphones. Welcome to what lurks in the shadows. The snow came soft that morning, gentle, almost playful, the kind that makes first graders press their noses to the glass and forget everything you're trying to teach them about vowels or subtraction. I didn't blame them. I was watching too. By mid-morning, it wasn't soft anymore. It came down heavy, thick, relentless, the kind of snow that swallows a city whole, that turns Philadelphia into something unrecognizable. Every sharp edge buried, every sound muffled, everything familiar made strange. Around noon, the announcement crackled through. "Class is canceled. Go home. Be safe." The kids erupted, pure joy, coats yanked on, hats askew. Their voices echoing down the hallway at Juniata Park Academy as they scattered into the storm. I smiled, gathered my things, told myself I should be happy too. A whole afternoon, suddenly free. A snow day, a gift. But stepping outside, the cold hit me like a fist. My boots sank deep. The wind sliced through my coat, raw against my cheeks, stinging my eyes. I pulled my scarf tighter and kept my head down, but I couldn't shake it. That feeling, not excitement, not relief, dread. I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was just weather. Just snow, just an early dismissal on a Wednesday in January. But my chest felt tight, my breath came shallow, and the city around me, this city I loved, this place I'd chosen, felt too quiet, too still, like it was holding its breath. I hurried home. Home was apartment 603 in Manayunk. Small, but ours, Sam's and mine. The kind of place that should feel safe. Warm radiators, familiar creaks, the hum of the refrigerator that never quite shut off. We'd been there a little over a year, planning a wedding, building a life. Sam Goldberg, my fiancé, a producer at NBC Sports, smart, driven, the kind of guy who could make you laugh even when you were drowning in work. We'd met, we'd fallen, we'd said yes to forever. I thought I knew what forever looked like. That afternoon, January 26, 2011, Sam went to the gym around 4:45, just down the hall, same building. He kissed me, said he'd be back soon, grabbed his bag. The door clicked shut behind him, and I was alone. The apartment should have felt normal. It was normal. The heater ticked on, warm air pushing through the vents. Outside, the snow kept falling, thick and silent, piling against the windows. Inside, everything was familiar. The couch where we watched movies, the kitchen where we made breakfast, the bedroom where we talked about honeymoon destinations. But something felt wrong. I can't explain it. There was no sound that shouldn't have been there. No shadow in the corner. No footsteps in the hall. just a heaviness, a pressure in the air, like the apartment was shrinking around me. I tried to shake it off. Anxiety, I told myself. You've always had anxiety, Ellen. You know what this feels like. Just breathe. But my hands were shaking. The quiet wasn't comforting. It was the kind of quiet that makes you aware of every small sound. The creak of the floorboards, the rattling of the pipes, your own heartbeat too loud in your ears. I felt watched. I don't know how else to say it. I felt like something was waiting. I tried to distract myself, checked my phone, thought about calling my mom, thought about making tea, but I couldn't move. I just stood there in the kitchen, staring at the snow outside, feeling the weight of something I couldn't name pressing down on me. The light was fading. The storm outside turned the world gray, then darker, and I was so tired of feeling afraid. I never answered when Sam called. I never went to the door when he came back. By 6:30, he was calling 911. The door was latched from inside, he said. He couldn't get in. He was panicking. Something was wrong. When they finally broke through, they found me on the kitchen floor. A knife. 20 stab wounds. Count them. 20. 10 of them to the back of my neck. The back. Bruises scattered across my body, some fresh, some days old, some healing in shades of yellow and green. The medical examiner saw what was there. He wrote it down. Homicide. Stabbed by another person. That should have been the end of it. The beginning of an investigation. Questions, answers, justice. But then came the meetings, the phone calls, the police asking questions that didn't sound like questions. No forced entry, they said. No sign of a struggle. The door was locked from inside. Within a day, my death certificate was changed. Suicide. Let that word sit with you for a moment. Suicide. 20 stab wounds, 10 to the back of my neck, a place I couldn't even reach if I tried. Bruises in different stages of healing, scattered across me like a map of something no one wanted to read, and they called it suicide. I had struggled, yes. Anxiety that coiled around my chest some days. Depression that made the world feel gray. My parents knew. I'd talked to doctors. I wasn't ashamed. Mental illness is real. I know that. I lived that. But this? 20 wounds. 20. Say it slow. Let the numbers settle. Picture someone doing that to themselves. Picture the will it would take, the agony, the impossible contortion required to stab yourself in the back of the neck. Once, twice, 10 times. Does that sound like suicide to you? My parents knew. The moment they heard, they knew. Josh and Sandy Greenberg, my mom and dad, the people who poured the whole world into me from the day I was born, June 23, 1983, in New York City. Their only child, their joyful, fun-loving, beautiful girl. That's what they called me. And I believed them because they made me believe the world was good. We moved to Harrisburg when I was young. I grew up wrapped in their love, in the certainty that I was safe, that life was a promise being kept. I went to Penn State. Studied education because I wanted to give that same feeling to other kids, that sense of possibility, of being seen and valued. I got my master's degree. I moved to Philadelphia. I stood in front of a classroom of first graders every day, and they called me Miss Greenberg, and they trusted me. I had a life, a future, a man I loved, a wedding to plan. I was 27 years old, and someone took that from me. The apartment was cleaned before anyone could search it properly. Evidence gone, wiped away. A relative of Sam's was even allowed inside, allowed to take my phone, my computer, pieces of me carried out before the right questions could be asked. No one stopped it. No one thought to preserve the scene. Suicide, they decided. Case closed. My parents fought. God, they fought. They hired experts, forensic pathologists who looked at the photographs, read the reports, and said what should have been obvious. This doesn't fit. The wounds, the bruises, the physics of it, it doesn't fit. But the city didn't budge. Years passed. My parents carried my name into courtrooms, into newsrooms, into every office where someone might listen. In 2019, they sued the medical examiner's office, begging for the truth of my death to be acknowledged. In 2022, they filed another lawsuit against the city itself, accusing officials of covering mistakes, of hiding the cracks in the investigation to protect themselves. 14 years. 14 years they refused to let go, and for 14 years the answer was the same: suicide. Sam only spoke once, years later, to CNN. He said, when I died, part of him died too. He said mental illness was real, that I had been its victim. He called the doubts about my case pathetic, despicable attempts to desecrate my reputation and his. Then he went silent. He stayed quiet, and the questions stayed loud. Who was in the apartment with me? Why was the door locked from inside? Why was evidence removed before it could be examined? Why were there bruises in different stages of healing? Why did the medical examiner change his findings so quickly? The answers never came. But my parents never stopped asking. Then, in February 2025, 14 years after I died, something shifted. The city settled. Both lawsuits closed. The medical examiner's office agreed to reopen my case, and Dr. Marlon Osborne, the very man who performed my autopsy, the man who signed the original report, signed an affidavit saying, which should have been clear from the beginning, my death could not be classified as suicide. It must be called something else, something undetermined, something that leaves the door open for the truth. For the first time in 14 years, that door, locked for so long, cracked open. My mother told reporters, never in my wildest dreams did I think anything like this was gonna happen. My father said, "I hope today we made Ellen proud of us." They did. I was proud. I am proud. But pride is not the same as peace. The truth is still tangled in shadows. The snow from that night still falls in my memory, covering the city, covering the questions, muffling everything in silence. I was a teacher, a daughter, a friend. I was 27 years old. I loved my students. I loved my parents. I loved my life, even when it was hard, even when the anxiety made it hard to breathe. I deserved answers. I deserved an investigation that treated my death like it mattered. And on a winter's night in 2011, in apartment 603, someone decided I wouldn't get that. My story was rewritten. My voice was silenced. My death was filed away under a word that didn't fit, so the case could be closed and forgotten. But my parents wouldn't let me be forgotten. 14 years they carried me. 14 years they fought when no one else would. And now, finally, the questions are being asked again. Who was with me that day? What really happened in that apartment? Why was the truth buried for so long? I don't have the answers, not yet, but I need you to remember something. I need you to remember that I was here, that I mattered, that 27 years of life can't be erased by one word on a death certificate. I need you to remember my name, Ellen Greenberg. And I need you to help me find the ending to this story, because 14 years later, they're still searching, and so am I. If this story unsettled you, follow What Lurks in the Shadows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening now.